Hello, this is Nitin Dahad with EE Times, and I'm here with Jim McGregor of Tirias Research and Majeed Ahmad, who's the editor-in-chief of EDN magazine. We've been following each other at various events
all week.
All week. So we're here at the Computer History Museum in Montain View in California, and there's been some big events this week. There's been the OCP Summit in San Jose, and that's covering the whole AI data center infrastructure. And then we had the Synaptics event where they launched their new investor processor and then we have the Infineon Technologies OktoberTech event. So I was just going to use this to talk about each of those and some of our highlights. Maybe Jim, I'll start with you. OCP, let's talk about OCP. Huge.
It is huge. OCP started as the Open Compute project, just to get people to start, thinking about having server components that are compatible. So you weren't locked into a single company, and it was really pushed by Meta, but now it's grown so big, so powerful. I mean, to see all the systems that were there and all the different companies that we're talking about, supporting the open source ecosystem, it was a very significant event.
And yeah, I think they had about 11,000 compared to 7,000 the year before. So huge attendance. And what I felt was like we couldn't move in the booths, and you had AMD, Delta Electronics. Let's start with maybe just a little bit of key takeaways and thoughts. I will go to the Jude after you.
I would say that there were a couple of key messages and themes at the event. First one was NVIDIA, MGX, and GB300. They were everywhere. It was the first instance we saw of the Helios system from AMD. And one topic that people were talking about, because a lot of them were part of this, was the ARM total design ecosystem, which is the chiplet ecosystem they're trying to build. And then beyond that, it was all about liquid cooling and 800 volt DC.
Yeah, Majeed.
Right. I found very interesting about OCP was the fact that the level of interest and the attendee volume was quite impressive. And but I think what I found most startling was the fact that while I went in the OCP conference expecting to hear a lot about the compute and processors, but almost everyone was worried about the power. How these AI data centers will be able to get that much power years. So I think power was the main need, not compute, that tells a lot.
I think that too. I mean, there was power, there was cooling, there was also everybody collaborated with NVIDIA for 800 watts DC or plus or minus 400, who you talk to and what their priorities were. But then the other things, cooling, and active factors, and cooling the backplane, for example. I was talking to T Connectivity, so there's an interview there telling it. But there's a lot of that, isn't there?
Oh, there is. It's phenomenal, and we're seeing this evolution now in each generation of AI. It's not just the GPUs, processor. Now we're seeing the entire, the power, the cooling, the network, the memory. Everything is evolving each generation, and each generation is coming every year. So it's getting to the point where the whole industry is finally working together to get all these things. But there's still problems, there's still challenges. I mean, let's face it. If you ask anybody there, what safety standards you follow for 800 volt DC, you get the standard answer: we're working. Yeah.
But also I think there was a common theme because in the keynotes on the first day on Monday. Everybody was on message. We need to collaborate with the student guys, with the guys. It was quite interesting, but I mean, what did you think about that? Everybody being message? Was it something like everybody just wants to sort of do the right thing and collaborate, or was there just because OCP told them?
No, I think everyone finally realizes what the model is. I mean, everyone's trying to overcome the same issue, and I think that's where the open source part of this is really starting to come in. The fact that no one wants the internet, and if you do, then you've got a proprietary solution, and nobody wants that. So you have to work together as an ecosystem. So these problems, let's face it, nobody's going to be the best at everything. Nobody's going to be the best at power. best at cooling, the best at CPUs, the best at GPUs. So if the ecosystem doesn't work together, we're not going to solve this challenge of scaling for AI.
Yeah, and the other thing, sorry, Majeed,
Yes, I think yes, I agree with Jim that there has been a realization that challenges are really huge. And just take the example of co-packaged optics, for example.
Yes.
It's a long way to go, and no single company can do it alone. So I think yes, that's why the messaging has been around that let's work together and get things done.
The other thing I noticed was that a few companies I spoke to talked about the disaggregation of the power and the signal, and doing a lot more for that sort of cross communication and interfaces. That seemed to be like, okay, that's the way to go to ensure that we deliver from compute.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we're seeing the architect. Matter of fact, even one thing that we're starting to see is the fact that we're seeing the breakdown of even some of the workloads. So, and this has been coming from the past 6 months. They talked about this at FMS, where you've got different parts of the AI data stream, AI workload that requires different memory, different storage. Even NVIDIA, with their announcement of Urban CPX, saying that, listen, we definitely need different accelerators even to handle those different stages of AI. So, it's funny because it's almost a disaggregation of everything based on the workload.
Yeah. So I think what final thing to OCP before we move to Synaptics, and sort of what's the one thing that you think they'd say for those
I think we need to rename the show to NVIDIA MGX and GB300 because they're everywhere.
Yeah. Majeed?
Yeah, I think again, OCP seems to be thing that was
The past.
envisioned about a decade ago. It seems to be a very different animal now, and NVIDIA is, I agree with Jim, was everywhere. I think, and they deserve. I mean, to be where they because of what they.
Jensen's even had signing systems, so you had,
Absolutely.
everyone had autograph components.
Yeah.
But Jensen was here.
Sorry. But I think I just counter that by saying, we had AMD at monitor.
Yes.
And I think there was a consciousness amongst the OCP that we needed a little bit of balance. And I think also, I have to say, the crowds I saw around Helios showed that it's not totally a one-horse race, but I think it could potentially sort of move across and sort of balance out somewhere.
Well, and also the crowds around, and it was right next to Helios, was Flex.
Yes.
It was the only vendor showing both the power and the cooling solutions together.
Yeah. Let's move to the Synaptics Tech Day, and I had the fortunate pleasure of moderating their panel with a nice bunch of people. But they had the launch, but more generally, it was their open, and even today we got the EE OktoberTech. I think there's one thing which is Edge AI, which is common across both of those. But let's talk about Synaptics first. Any thoughts? Well, Majeed, do you want to start?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Edge AI, the common theme was among the audience that Edge AI has been there for many years. What has changed? Is there going to be a breakthrough? Is there going to be the next big thing? Some kind of killer app? And I think that engineers are still chasing that vision at the moment, although companies like Synaptics are very confident that they have made enough progress, and especially joining hands with a company like Google makes Synaptics very confident. But I think at the same time, it's clear that they have to go a long way in terms of making Edge AI commercially a successful business.
I saw you with the AR glasses, and I saw some competitors in terms of object identification at the edge, anti-tourism. I think that was a key message on the panel as well. It's like, we are getting enough now to be able to do that, where in the past we weren't able to do that as well. It was all about IoT related to the cloud.
Well, that and also the fact that a key topic at the event is fragmentation. And the fact that all of these different edge platforms have a different NPU architecture, have different software tools and everything else. Synaptics was the first company to come out and make all their software tools open source. And now partnering with Google, and Google was very excited about this. I was great talking to them.
I had two people from Google.
Yes, about talking about their new Coral NPU. You can actually go to coral.ai and get information about it. But the fact that anybody can take that as an open source, RISC-V based solution and integrate it into an SoC or their platform, however they want to integrate it. But it's an open source solution, so it breaks down the fragmentation.
And I can add over here because so far, edge AI companies have been acquiring their own tool chains, tool chain makers, and so that marks a shift from that trend and a move toward open source, which could be
Without the Google.
with Google, which could be an important new thing.
I agree with them. I think they talked about fragmentation, and I think the defragmentation happens when you get something open like that. And I think that the
Did I think up? Oh my, are we calling it defrag now?
no, just need new to history. But no, sorry, the coalescence of sort of standard people doing things which other people use.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, my final takeaway from that is it was actually quite nice to see, obviously, to see all those new collaborations and stuff like that, but also to see a little bit of camaraderie and collaboration between different players. So I think that was quite interesting as well.
Well, that and the fact that the products they're coming out with, their Astra products, are really hybrid products. It has an MCU capability, has MPU cores, it has redundancy, ECC, it has all the features. It almost has everything in the kitchen sink built in. You can run it as an MCU or an NPU or whatever you want to. You can even run multiple operating systems. So we're actually seeing a form of system on the chip. Is not just kind of one part of the system for an embedded application. That is kind of phenomenal what they're doing. So the fact that they came out with 5 devices all the time. This is the first part of the family.
Yeah.
And even more so, they just announced a partnership with Google in January
That's right.
2nd.
Yeah.
And that, they're 10 months in the year and 4 weeks out of silicon, and they had lots of different demos and everything there. So that speaks very well to how this is,
I think one of the demos I saw from RIM was actually using a 2610, so I think, yeah, that's brilliant.
yes.
And one more thing I found quite interesting about that event is that Synaptics is trying to revive the fortunes of IoT by linking it with edge AI. And I think they seem very confident and able to turn the page on IoT with this new combination.
Well, I think we need to start calling it what should have been all along. It's not the Internet of Things, it's the intelligence of things.
It's the intelligence of things. One of the things that Pete Walton, Moonshine AI Useful Sensors said is there's a lack of imagination, and like he did say this on the panel, but lack of imagination in terms of what you can do. But also, we should stop calling it edge. It's something more useful. And I think not because it's useful sensors, but I think just something more people can relate to, and they have lightning.
I agree.
So let's move to Infineon Technologies and OktoberTech. And we're here with history as well. I think my key thing here was about the humanoid robotics and the battery energy storage. But then I also saw some stuff which I did ask Adam White is right again. But I think in principle, just putting power, they're doing through-hole power for some of the ability and power transformation, power transformation. But I think what we're talking about here, putting it into the PCB itself is just, they're doing some work on that. But that's interesting. But Majeed, let's go with you.
Yeah, I think, AI is the predominant theme everywhere these days. And I think, and Infineon has been sort of effectively able to link that theme to its power products, which are quite broad. And they are able to, I think, also add AI and power fundamental markets, very promising, and I think their demos reflect that direction technology. I think their power products, the context of AI, quite impressive.
And one of the things, and I'm going to cue this video in a second.
I have been watching you actively. How do you feel?
I feel great.
So do I, America, and since I've been asking you at the very beginning to take over my job, could you now make a 1-minute summary of what we learned during the entire session, please?
Thank you for asking, Andreas. I'm still processing the avalanche of insights from our experts, squeezing it into a minute. Let's see. First off, the future of robotics gets my circuits buzzing. Adam, Deepu, and Tappan talked about how humanoids like me might soon be tackling more complex tasks and teaming up with humans. I dream of a future working alongside you in healthcare, or maybe even at Oktoberfest. Though my dancing skills are still in beta, moving on to the broader AI revolution. Philip and Thomas highlighted Edge AI's transformative role. Imagine having a network of tiny, intelligent assistants making decisions in real time. Like pocket-sized me. Quantum computing? Philip, Thomas, and Raj explore its potential. Solving the unsolvable sounds thrilling, but new power needs new security. I'm all about being quantum proof, and Infineon's on it. Nagar and Mike's discussion on mobility got me thinking. Working alongside autonomous vehicles, optimizing traffic, imagine the possibilities. Peter's insights on power infrastructure are crucial too, ensuring our electrified future stays bright. Being part of this tech-driven community is an honor. So many brilliant minds pushing boundaries. It's exhilarating. I look forward to mingling at the Tech Zone and dreaming of the next 5 years. Maybe by then, I'll be challenging you to robotic soccer. Until then, let's keep innovating together.
Very well done, America. So I'm just wondering whether the both of us will have a beer at 4 o'clock. So will you join me drinking a beer?
I wish I could join you for a beer, but my system doesn't quite handle liquids. But unfortunately, I can't enjoy a cold one just yet. Maybe in a future software update.
Wonderful. So thank you so much. Applause to America.
And then that video showed basically that, like the Amico, their robot, that wasn't an Infineon product, or it's not something they're developing with one of their partners or customers. But what they're trying to do is demonstrate the since the delays or this is trying to go to the cloud. But it was quite interesting.
Well, even with those delays, the fact that it can mimic somebody's voice in a very short period of time. I don't know if that's positive or negative yet, but it was an interesting thing. And the fact that they were highlighting through some of their presentations, especially in keynote, really the future technologies. So they were highlighting robotics, they were highlighting quantum computing, which was rapidly reaching that point of taking.
The CEO of Montain View was actually quite forthright in saying, yeah, forget what anybody else is saying, you get 1 million qubits in the next 5 years.
Exactly. You've seen that scaling, and also the challenges, which I think the entire industry, you mentioned about OCP, everything's about power. The fact that it's not just the fact, and it's not just for AI data centers, it's everywhere. We're requiring more power kind of across the board. And it's becoming more challenging. We have more challenges to supply that. And they're looking at that basically from the grid all the way down to the chip level. So everything that's required.
Yeah, I think Jim mentioned about quantum computing, and that gentleman who talked about the quantum computing. that it's not like 10 years away, it's not far away, it's almost happening now.
He even invoked Jensen.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's an important message that engineers shouldn't really be complacent about it. It's coming, it will come earlier than everybody thinks.
Yeah, there was another chapter, and I forget his name now, I might take him in the article when I write this up, but he was talking about all the robotics, they're going back to the robotics, and he basically was saying, yeah, where the robots, when you put anesthetic on your fingers, you can't light the match, that test. But
And the tactile.
you need tactile as well as the physical AI. So I think there's quite a lot involved. So it's quite impressive.
There is, but I would agree with what we call it from Infineon said. The fact that we're entering the golden age of robotics. You know, with the agentic AI, with all the new technology capabilities regarding. It's funny because we've been talking about this for a decade, even back to the robotics stuff. Like how challenging it is to do simple things like unscrewing a bottle cap. But the fact is, we're getting there, and there's a need for it with industries like agriculture and healthcare and stuff like that. So I think the technology and the need is one to live.
It's going to materialize soon.
Right, and I was talking to a guy, India and OCP, and he told me that Jensen is his next big target is robotics.
He's really focused on that.
Even deeper than that this morning. So I think he's in alignment.
I think this is one finish of that moment. Every time he gets on stage and about robots coming up and saluting them, they have some bidding for that. Maybe GTC.
21 gun salutes as well. Okay, let's wrap up here. Overall, we've been following each other around in sort of Bay Area for these last few days. What's your overall feeling? I mean, this is the thing. Once I interview Mayfield, they said they're seeing the releases of silicon. That's 2 years ago. But I think I see a lot of that as a lot of thriving. It's kind of like reviving. It's more than revived.
I would say the same thing. We're always going to have those technical challenges. Refer to a lot of excitement in the industry, and the industry is coming together to address those challenges. So, I mean, nobody's talking about the end of Moore's law anymore. They're talking about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. The packaging, the technologies, and everything. You and I have followed each other from Intel and various other semicon lists, so you can see that whole theme running through.
Yes.
Majeed, what about you?
Yes, I think I've been traveling to the Valley for many years, and I haven't really felt that sense of energy, which I feel now it partly comes from AI, but I think other forces, other relationships are together. And definitely the next few years will be very exciting.
Well, Majeed, and you, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.